It's our first episode decoding real estate for people who are looking to purchase a house. Till the time you get your keys, what is the process?
Am I buying this house for staying purposes or am I buying this house for investment? Even without having approvals, people end up buying.
What do you mean by approvals? Black money is rampant in real estate. The real estate market is on the verge of a crash in India.
If you're looking at it from a 1 year perspective, then it might be. From a 3 and 5 year perspective, no. Let me explain that thing.
What about from the real estate builder's perspective? When say you select a piece of land, and say I want to construct here.
I think the most biggest challenge is
Loda bought in Armani to do their designing.
the appetite for luxury real estate has really gone up. Why? Because another important offering of luxury real estate is a peer group networking.
Correct.
Like your neighbor is also somebody who's as accomplished, right?
So what goes wrong with real estate in that case? Like how can a project just get stalled? Well, you ended up selling 500 crores worth of inventory on day one of launching your project. What typically comes out as profit from that? How do you structure the business?
So you want all the secret stuff?
Yeah, of course. And what do you think people look for? Do they like a fully furnished apartment?
Interesting question. Hyderabad, amongst all the metros, is the best place to live in, right? 64% of the cameras in the entire country are only in Hyderabad city.
What? So what are the key warning signs a first-time buyer should look out when purchasing a home? People put up a fence, right, on the land and say it belongs to me.
Oh yeah, land we do. We build pakka RCC, like cement concrete walls we build.
Really?
If not, your land is gone.
Yeah?
Your land is gone.
Wow. Tenants refusing to leave a property. So what do landlords do in this case?
See, in India, unfortunately, the tenancy laws are usually
Welcome, Ajitesh. So lovely to have you. And it's our first episode decoding real estate. So excited to learn about everything that you have to share.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you for having me here. I'm really, looking forward to connect to your millions of audience through you and demystify real estate, right? Because it's something which everybody thinks they know it all.
Yeah.
But still it feels like an enigma.
Yeah, and I think the trend has moved, right, over the past couple of decades, obviously. A stat that we came across our research is that a real estate developer like DLF sells out 7,200 crores worth of properties in 72 hours. That's literally 100 crores every hour.
Yes.
So what does that tell you about or tells our audience about the Indian consumer's taste for luxury and luxury real estate?
See, first what's happening is if you look at the last 10 years or 10, 15 years hard, right? The economy has been doing considerably well. So because of that, people with certain skill sets, right, with certain level of education or certain skill sets have done well for themselves. Now, when you do really good financially or well for yourself, the first thing you would want to improve is your way of living, right? Your lifestyle. Yeah. And the house is like the fundamental or the heart of the entire lifestyle products which a consumer gets to have in their lives. So that's where they go and spend that money first. And that's what is showing up on the sales balance sheets of these companies, right? Where they launch and they're sold out like thousands of crores of inventory sold out in like over the weekend.
Correct.
Right. So it's just the pent up demand and people's appetite for making their lifestyle or lifestyle much better. That's what I would say.
If you were to boil it down, right, like for people who are looking to perhaps purchase a house, what is the typical process? Like from, say, if a building is under construction, you go and see, okay, this is tentatively how my house will look. It'll have 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, whatever that may be. Till the time you get your keys, what is the process? If you could simplify it for people watching.
Okay. See, first and foremost, before somebody is buying a house, they need to do a research which will place them in the right bucket. Am I buying this house for staying purposes or am I buying this house for investment? Because again, real estate is a very big investment asset class also, right? Yeah. If it's investment, then there's a certain practice which you need to follow. Go do good amount of research on RERA websites. Like there's TS RERA for Telangana state, Hyderabad ka RERA. I mean, there's I think Maha RERA for all the projects which come in Maharashtra and Bombay region. So go and do research there. You will have a detailed understanding of what type of inventory or product mix is coming, and what is the sort of which is in excess supply, which is in under supply, and then go after the ones which are in under supply depending on your budget constraints. If you are somebody who's planning to buy for an end use perspective, you need to have a good picture of your next 10, 20 years, 10 years of your life. Okay, how many kids you're planning to have? Do your parents also intend to stay with you, if not today, after 5 years? And how close do you want to be to your office depending on your finances? These you need to first have a good picture on this, and then you close in on the location. Okay, depending on your budget and these. So after you get the location, then you should look at all the sort of offerings in that location, because each of them might have a different product or the same product at different prices, different offers and all of that. Right? One of the key thing in all of this is make sure that any product has got all the approvals.
Right.
I believe in Mumbai, the practice has now become much more streamlined. But various other parts of the country, even without having approvals, people end up buying. Developers also should not be selling, but they also sell.
What do you mean by approvals?
So the local municipality, right? The local municipality is supposed to approve your project based on all the fire norms, right? Based on all the earthquake-related norms and all of these, right? There are certain regulatory norms. So the municipality approves that, okay, this project as per the design is compliant with all these norms. So it's safe from a fire hazardous perspective and earthquake perspective, and even the planning, ventilation, lighting perspective and all of that in a plain level. So they approve the project. Then it means the developer can start selling. Then there's something called RERA, right? Real Estate Regulatory Act. From that authority, we have to take an approval, and then we are allowed to sell as a developer. So any developer which sells a project clearly displays their RERA number. So anybody who is buying should simply look, first of all, if the developer has a RERA number or not. If the developer has a RERA number, it means everything is like all the approval perspective is done.
It's in the clear.
It's clear.
Right.
Like after some time, your property will be suddenly Supreme Court will come and stop
that
it.
It's not. Yeah.
It won't happen that way.
And what about from the real estate builder's perspective? What are the challenges or the process on your end when, say, you select a piece of land and say, I want to construct here?
I think the most biggest challenge is product market fit. Right? Though it's something which sounds simple, and most of other businesses, right, like maybe an internet tech company or something, product market fit is quite established how to solve that problem. In real estate, it's very complicated because data availability for that is low. And this is a thing which most of the case developers get it wrong also.
Correct.
So we end up building wrong location pay, wrong product, or wrong product, wrong pricing, and all of these things go wrong. So this is something which is very, very important, right? Getting the right product market fit. And then your acquisition strategy. Do you want to go about by partnering with the landowner, or do you want to go and buy the land and then do it? Each of it has its own advantages and disadvantages. So having a good understanding of that. And then third one is frankly doing a decent amount of financial closure before entering a project. Let's say the project costs something like 100 rupees, including the land. I need to spend 100 rupees over the next 4 years. At least on the beginning day, I need to have a clear visibility of 60 to 70% of that funds. Right. If I do it without doing a reasonable financial closure, then I'll be purely relying on the customer's sales to build it. In which case, let's say the sales are slow, then the project gets stalled. Correct. We don't want such a situation. So these three are very important for developers.
And what is the Indian consumer now looking towards when it comes to luxury, right? Like Loda bought in Armani to do their designing.
See, I think the appetite for luxury real estate has really gone up. Why? Because this happens in the 0.2 percentile of the economy. Correct. Right? Yeah. That they are the consumers of luxury real estate. What's attributing to that is the first wave of Indian tech companies have begun giving exits to their senior team. Correct. Right, where people are getting ESOPs, and upon listing, those ESOPs are able to sell and get a lump sum money. Right, that's what is moving into this luxury real estate to start with. And another important offering of luxury real estate is a peer group networking. Correct. Like your neighbor is also somebody who's as accomplished, right? Yeah. So imagine now two of you meeting together. So, or maybe the entire community level has a similar accomplished people. The opportunities of that network is also very high, right? Correct. These are the two big important things, right? What's propelling the need for luxury space?
Yeah, because if you buy in a certain place, you're going to be attracting a category of people who are in the same space. Yeah.
Let's say I was a CTO of X company and I got ESOPs and my company listed and I went and purchased a fancy real estate. Most likely my neighbor is going to be a similar person. He might be a startup founder or he might be another CTO. So, it has a huge social advantage, right? Yeah. So now for the developers, right, to really, how do you convince your buyer on luxury? Like one is you can change, materials on the skin level. Skin level is anything which we can touch, like flooring, maybe windows, right? This is all the value add you can really do, right? There's nothing much you can do. That's why we developers are having to partner with brands like Armani and Trump and all of these, where they bring in the next level of next level of product making, which is got to do with your furnishings, right? And in some cases, even probably the last mile things like the design of your sanitary ware and all can be made exclusively by these people. Yeah. So, and these brands are something which already these customers they know that they most likely will be using a Armani brand or a sort of.
So they also relate to that brand of luxury.
Yeah, you're leveraging on that luxury aspect, right? So, and then they are leveraging their design making, right? Yeah. Essentially Armani, and they're all designers, right? Correct. You're extending on that, like linen, fabrics, furnishings, all of this.
Yeah, like when you go into, for example, a Lodha Tower over here, it has a certain feel to it.
Exactly.
And it also is like a small community, where actually it's
like a village.
It's like a town. Like there are pools and there's cricket courts and paddle courts, and it's like you're positioned to never leave that space. So it's very, very interesting. But it could also go in a very south direction, right? Like, for example, in Bombay, the property Palais Royal, which has been stalled for a significant amount of time. It was said to be India's tallest building, but it got into legal disputes, for example. And every party involved was obviously distressed because there were people who paid for the property. There are developers who are also waiting for cash, etc., etc.
Yeah. They've also put in a lot of their money into it, right? Equity into it.
So what goes wrong with real estate in that case? Like, how can a project just get stalled?
See, three things, Karishma, if you understand real estate, there are three critical stakeholders: the customer, the developer, and the government.
Yeah.
Most of the times with RERA and all of these laws coming in, the accountability on the customer and the developer front is reasonably established and getting better day by day.
Correct.
But the accountability on the government side, there's no law covering that, right? RERA only covers the liabilities of a developer, nothing of the government.
Yeah.
Like, for example, at least this is not the case in Hyderabad, but in Bombay, what happens is to build the same project as a developer, I need to take approvals multiple times.
Okay.
This is something which is unique in Bombay and certain very few places in the country.
Yeah.
So let's say I finish the first 30% of the project and then I go to the approval authority to take an approval. Some rule change suddenly and that should not be applied retrospectively, but they still go and apply it.
Yeah.
Then what happens? The project is stuck.
Yeah.
Most likely, I think something with Palace Royal also, something like that could have happened. And another complicated thing with real estate is it's not just the municipality which frames the laws, though majority of the laws are framed by the municipality. Let's say NGT is there, like the Green Tribunal is there. They also frame the laws.
Yeah.
Now, those laws are in isolation. The municipality does not really have understanding of applicability of those laws on this project, and suddenly somebody files a PIL and then the NGT clicks into action. Oh yeah, you're violating this law, which nobody is aware of, and then stall the project. That is something which is reduced considerably, but that's something which has really been impacting the sector. And most of the time, it's purely the developer who gets blamed in this, right? Naturally, developers, I don't know, maybe people consider them as cronies or what, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
The government also has a lot of accountability, and there's no law which is making them more accountable. Hopefully it happens someday.
It'll change at some point. Okay, amazing. And when we bring it closer to home, right? How did you launch ASBL? How did that come about? Why did you decide to get into real estate? Because there are so many people who still have that notion, that real estate is something that you should just stay away from. And there are so many people who believe that it's not the best occupation. There's a lot of ups and downs. It's like large money. So how did your journey begin?
See, at least for me, I come from a real estate family background. Yeah. My father established, he was one of the co-founder of Ashoka Builders, one of the early developers in Hyderabad when they established in 1989.
Okay.
So growing up, I could see him, go through the hustle and all the things which used to happen in the sectors. Things which I liked the most was the entire construction aspect.
Correct.
Right, there is like, I remember the first time when I went to a site, I was like 8 years old. I could see this giant earth movers come in and dig up, and then big trucks, and there's a lot of things happening on site, right?
Yeah.
So I really liked that. So the amount of things which happen in a site was, something which inspired me a lot. So that's how I got into it. Then I worked with him for 3 years after I did my undergrad, and then I had a different set of ideas. Right, I could see that a lot of technology could be implemented, and sort of a different. We wanted to really go and test and see what technology can do.
Okay.
Again, technology not from a simple your ERPs or something like that, but a deeply integrated can. I was like, to put in perspective. Did you watch the movie Iron Man?
Yeah. Of
Right,
course,
Iron Man has this AI assistant called Jarvis, right?
Yeah.
I was really fascinated by Jarvis, so I wanted to create a Jarvis which will run my company.
Okay.
So I started with that idea, and then we realized that I couldn't do it in that company, so I had to set up my own company as well. So Jarvis was the reason in one way, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, on a more serious note, so right from the beginning, we were tech first. So we started deploying digital twin and trying to see what sort of automations we can do in decision making and stuff like that. That's how we started ASBL, and now we are super thrilled because the sort of technology we have got to create in by doing our business and solving for all the problems is truly amazing, and it adds enormous value to not just our customers but all the people who work in the sector.
Correct.
Right, our vendors, contractors, where we work with hundreds of laborers, right? A typical project we have like 10 to 20 million man hours. Imagine the value add you can do to them.
Yeah.
So these are the things which kept us going, and we started following our passion in that direction.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how ASBL was formed.
And it's so interesting because, every company that has a tagline that sits well with their brand value, right? Yours is, we make homes that understand you. What was the thought process behind that? And how have you created homes that make people feel like they're being understood?
Okay, so let me give you an example in this line. So when we were, actually our initial tagline was reality of tomorrow. That also stays now. But now more and more, the more deeper into it we are going, we are getting more and more sensitive to the customers' use cases around a home. Let me share some examples, right? So in one of our project, which was in the central part of Hyderabad, right? When we did product research before construction, we realized that most of the families most of the households had larger family sizes.
Right.
A typical family sizes in Hyderabad is 4. But in that central part of Hyderabad, it was around 6+. So we saw that a lot of parents are also staying with their children, like who are working age. So then when we did user research, when we spoke with them, there's an interesting point which didn't come out directly, but it's sort of indirect, where a lot of the kids I could see, the owners, right? The owners age, there was this subtle, I would say, discomfort in them or guilt in them that, okay, my parents are staying in like the smallest room of my house,
right,
or things like that. So that's when we realized that, okay, this target group wants us to have 2 master bedrooms in a house.
Wow.
So this was a concept which came from there. Okay, because typically when we build, right, when you design, you have one master bedroom which has all the features loaded, and then you have the kids' bedroom and maybe a guest bedroom. Nobody would have thought that an apartment wants 2 master bedrooms because when the parents are staying with their children.
And you want them to have that comfort as well.
That comfort, because this was sitting somewhere in top of their mind. Somewhere or the other, like, okay, my parents are living in a small bedroom.
Correct.
In the same house. So that's what we wanted to solve. So that's how we are becoming more customer centric and customer first. Another thing also we have realized is house also I'm not a big believer of at least for the customer segment in which we are operating, house is no longer a once in a lifetime sort of a purchase. It is something a decadal purchase, like how we change our phones every 3 years. We are seeing that people are changing houses also in probably every 10 years once, right? Let's assume in your early 30s, right? In your early 30s, your family life is you're just married and you're establishing your post-marital financial life, and you're planning for a child. That's when they start planning for a compact 3-bedroom.
Correct.
right? Okay, there's one for the master, one for the child. And when parents come over as guests during the child upbringing phase also, then they get to use that. Then we have seen that as people go to 40, then you have 2 kids per family. Generally, most of our families have 2 kids, in which your elder kid is coming closer to their teens.
Yeah.
Is or a teen. So 8 to 10, then they start, demand for space starts going up. Like they start asking for their own bedroom, or they start complaining to their mother that their brother is coming, brother or sister is coming and, doing something moving around their stuff. So that is demand for more space. So we realized that, okay, in such cases, in a 3-bedroom flat, what's happening is once both the kids are taking their own space, then there's no space for your parents. And by the time your kids are reaching pre-teens, your parents are reaching 75s. So more and more they're going to stay with you because of any medical emergency and such sort of needs.
Right.
So we started redesigning our 3-bedroom apartments into a sort of a 3.5, a den sort of feature where one kid can use the den, which acts like a bedroom or a study or anything, thereby freeing up another bedroom for parents.
Wow.
So all of these things is what we've, more and more, like over a period of time, we have become more sensitive towards. And this is what our customers also want.
Right.
And another interesting feature also I'll tell you. So during the pandemic, overnight there was a shift towards hybrid work culture, right?
Correct.
So a lot of people then we immediately conducted a survey. We found out that 83% of our customers are exposed to hybrid work. Then we okay, and then we went into hybrid work research. Kya hota hai ghar pe, what's happening? So then also, okay, the rants started coming and I work. Suddenly, my wife runs into the room or I run into her room, and then the kid is coming, the maid is cleaning, all of this problem. Then we realized that, okay, why don't we, and the cons of working from home was that there's no human touch. You're just staying in the home 24/7. When you go to office, there is a social connect, which is very, very essential for a human.
Yeah.
Then we wanted to bring the best of both and bring in the constraint. The constraint was you couldn't travel much at pandemic. Post-pandemic also, people started realizing that traveling is actually a net wastage of time.
Yeah.
You're going to get more BP by traveling. There's no good thing apart from that.
Yeah.
So they continued their work from home, right? So we started giving co-working spaces right underneath our projects. In every tower, there's a unique co-working space. And it functions like any other, like your WeWork or anything. There are conference rooms which you can book out through our app and all of this. So because of this, what's happening is, one, you're interacting with your neighbors a lot more.
Yeah.
So there is a social benefit to it.
Correct.
See, generally when we don't interact with people, we associate them to strangers, and generally we are not that kind to strangers, right? But the more you meet the same person, then your guards are down, right? You tend to talk more with them, and then the entire social aspect comes up. So this was something, again, we found from the research. Another interesting thing we found in the research is a lot of our women customers are moms, right? New moms. So they were a lot more concerned around childcare.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
And right, if for most of the people living in cities, both wife and husband are working these days, and childcare is a very, very big societal level, I would say, problem which I think everybody has to solve for.
Yeah.
Right. So then we started realizing, okay, then what we did, like from a spatial planning perspective, co-working space, and right beside it we placed the creche. So the comfort when the mother has, okay, she just dropped the child there and she's just like 50 meters away.
Correct.
If anything happens, she can be there in like half a minute.
Yeah.
So this is all the sort of things what we realized. Sometimes what happened, generally co-working spaces, now some projects they're coming, but they're all placed at different corners of the project. Co-working space at one corner, your creche is at different corner, but we have started realizing which places should be combined.
Correct.
Which can add more utility or, I would say more ease of living to, our customers. So this is how we've been sort of, going about. I think we have gotten a very feature type of understanding now. Just like how imagine the first iPhone versus the latest one, 16th iPhone.
Yeah.
How many upgrades it got. Imagine physical space also in the same manner, right?
Yeah.
So that's the direction in which we're going. And I think future, I see a lot more things because now we are conducting a lot of research around cleaning houses, right? Housekeeping and cooking. Because the next set of problems to our customers is managing the maid and managing the cook. Suddenly they don't come. There's a lot. It's an unorganized service, right? How to organize it, and everything around, housekeeping, cooking, and your laundry is something which is now the future problems what we are going after. But hopefully we get to solve it.
Organize this space basically.
Yes, to organize
like if
the
somebody
space
doesn't
more.
show up last minute, how do you
Yes.
kind of navigate those
Yeah, imagine
problems?
like you bought an apartment and everything is taken care by the builder.
Yeah.
The builder makes sure that your house is clean every day for the next 10 years. The builder makes sure that your clothes are washed, ironed and kept on your bed so that you can just simply put in your wardrobe for the next 10 years. Yeah. So imagine these, then the amount of quality time which you can have with your family is going to go up, right? See, frankly, I don't see us operating in the space of selling homes. More and more we are moving towards the business of giving you 10 extra hours in a week. Right? Let me put it this way. So most of our customers, because they're dual income households and somebody who are doing well in their professional lives, they're clocking in close to 50 to 55 hour work weeks.
Correct.
Right? So 50 to 55 work week is very, very intense.
Yeah.
And on top of this, most of the times, the woman of the house spends another 5 to 7 hours managing the house weekly. Right? If we can reduce at least 5 hours, like 70% of that time, if we can get to manage and saving you that time, that's hugely valuable.
Yeah.
So that's what we are going after.
You can't put an amount on time.
Exactly, right? So that's the most, the resource under maximum constraint.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to give to our customers. You buy with us, you're going to have 10 extra hours in a week.
That's so interesting.
So hopefully.
Let's understand the math, right, that typically goes on when you're selling a house, for example. Let's talk on ASBL's front. You sell per unit at approximately 5 crores.
Around 2 to 3 crores.
Around 2 to 3 crores. Okay, and there are 100 units per building?
No, Hyderabad we build a lot, 1,000 in a building.
1,000.
Yes.
Okay, so that gives you about 2,000 to 3,000 crores of
that's a typical top line. Yes.
Of foreseeable revenue. So work out the math for me, right? Like what typically comes out as profit from that? How do you structure the business?
See, it's very simple. Around, let's say 100 rupees is the top line, right? 18 to 20 rupees would be our land cost.
Okay.
Right, and around 40 rupees is our around 40 rupees is our engineering cost, like building the building and all of that, inclusive of GST. Right, and then another 10 rupees would be our add-on, like indirect costs, mainly marketing and sales, and then your interest costs, construction finance interest cost. So all put together, you'll be landing at 20 plus 40 plus 10, so around 70.
Yeah.
So 30 rupees is your gross profit, not your net profit.
Not your net. Yeah.
Right. Now on this gross profit, you need to subtract your land interest. So whenever we buy land, we borrow money, right? That's at a considerably higher interest rate.
Yeah.
So uska interest we'll have to debit. So debiting that, you will be left at somewhere around 20 to 23. So roughly we in Hyderabad operate around 20 to 23% PBT.
Okay.
Profit before taxes.
Yeah. And how many such properties do you have, or do you typically
Currently,
look to do?
We are doing around close to around 6.5 million square feet. So probably 3,500 apartments is what under construction. We have already delivered 1,500 apartments, and we are in the planning stage for another 2,000 apartments.
Wow! And what is your customer acquisition cost to acquire these customers?
See, in real estate, CAC is low.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Compared to a lot of consumer tech industry. Yeah. We spend anywhere around 2 to 2.5 lakhs in getting a customer. So to put it in terms of their property price, top line, it should be around 1 to 1.5%. But overall marketing combined, you should look at 3%. Yeah. 3% is our CAC.
And what are your channels that you typically target to attract these customers who can purchase these homes?
See, at ASBL, we purely target only the digital format. So we use something like your Google Ads, Meta platform. Then there are a lot of third-party app ecosystems, right?
Okay.
YouTube is also one very, very big platform for us.
Really?
Yeah, we are purely digital. We don't spend even a penny on a single hoarding. We have never done it.
Really?
We've never
That's
done
so interesting because there are a lot of hoardings
everybody
about
does
real estate.
that.
Yeah, everybody does. Why would you go on the digital route?
My logic is if I can't know anything about the person who's viewing our ad, then I'll be left blank, right? I won't become smart by that.
Correct.
So imagine there's a hoarding and a consumer is looking at your hoarding and you don't know who the consumer is, how long he has looked. and whether he likes the message or put there or not. So I fundamentally can't associate with that idea that I'm not going to get any data.
Yeah. So what are the insights that you've gotten from the people who are actually viewing your data on, say, Instagram, Meta or YouTube? What have you understood?
Okay, see, Insta is something very good for your top of the line content, right? Somebody has looked at your ad in Insta. It means they're just begun their purchase journey. A typical purchase journey is around 5 months. So they're somewhere in the first month of that journey. Somebody who has done a Google search and landed, like a generalized search, top homes, 3-bedroom homes in Hyderabad, Gachibowli. They're somewhere deeper into their funnel. Think they're 2 months into the journey. Somebody who has directly ASBL landmark, that's one of our project, and landed on our website is much deeper into our journey. So based on what type of platform you're coming from and on what type of query you're coming from, a rough attribution can be attached to where you are in your purchase journey. Depending on where you're in a purchase journey, our strategies will be revolving, right? So once, let's say you're in the last 45 days of the purchase journey, then the way we handle the case is very different.
How do you handle it?
So you want all the secret sauce?
Yeah, of course. We're decoding it. It's so interesting to understand. But it's true, right? Because real estate aside, it's so funny how your app is basically intuitive. Like if I'm talking to you about Maldives, I can almost see it in the next 2 or 3 hours.
You're going to see that.
Yeah, I want to see an ad.
You'll most likely see our ad after this podcast.
Yeah, I'll probably get an ASBL ad, right? So how do you close this from say somebody who's 45 days away? How do you close and lock the deal? Like what are some of the strategies that you use?
See, at least for somebody who's in their 45 in the last stretch, right? Last 6 weeks of the journey. We try to, when we talk with them, we try to get an understanding of what particular product they're looking at, because one project will have 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 3.5 bedroom, corner, there are various products, right? So we try to make them zero in on which product they're looking at, and then be rest assured that if they have selected an apartment with you, they are going to visit your competitor sites as well. Nobody is going to buy a 2 or 3 crore apartment by just visiting one developer. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, you will want to compare make a choice.
All of that. So we train our salespeople on what is the pros and cons of all our competitors, mostly the cons also. And then actually when a customer comes here, we try to pitch in that direction, that how we are better than them. And second advantage I'll tell you in this is the time a customer spends with you in the pre-purchase. That's exceptionally important. Like, for example, I'm planning to buy a house. Now your lead system, your Builder A ka lead system captured me in the last 1 month of my journey. Builder B ka lead system captured me in the first 1 month of the journey. Matlab, now if I'm a lead with the Builder B much earlier than with Builder A, so he or she has got more time in influencing me towards their product.
You've built a champion.
Yes.
Yeah, who can really guide this
and spend sufficient time with the consumer. Because see, there are 2 things which are very, very, people take good amount of time in their lives. One is on the problem of whom they're going to marry. Right? People spend a lot of time. Next is where you're going to buy a house. After that. So it's never, buying a house is almost very rarely a sort of a impulse decision.
Yeah, it's like impossible.
It's a high cost affair, right? So in non-impulsive decisions, the longer you are with your customer, the better it is, the more chances you have. So that's what we do. That's the reason I don't rely on hoardings at all, because the customer is looking at a hoarding, you don't know that guy. So you will probably know that the day he comes to your salon, only that day you know that he's looking to buy. Whereas if you have seen my ad, I know him much, much earlier, so I get more time to influence him.
That's really, really smart.
That's one way. Maybe all I can't tell, but this one I can.
Okay. What about financing, right? Like so many real estate developers obviously depend upon pre-sales plus some amount of bank financing. How does it typically work for ASBL?
See, for us, what we do is we have our typical lending partners, right? Most of them are from Bombay, all the major financial institutions who help. There's certain set of finances called, again, major banks like Kotak, Motilal Oswal, they have vehicles called alternate investment funds. So through these methods, they finance our land acquisition at the time we're buying land. And then once we get approvals, we have another set of finances who will be funding the entire construction. And then we bring in our equity. So there's a particular composition of our equity and construction finance and land finance. So using these three financial sources is how we stitch together the entire financial closure of a project.
Okay.
And for at least, I would say 70% of the timeline. Now in the 70% of timeline, we will be doing sales as well, right?
Yeah.
Which will be helping the, sort of expenditure for the third and fourth year of the project. Like that, we typically roll over.
Right. And you're basically, by the time the land or the property is open for people to come stay, how much of a bank loan or a bank financing is still left, or is it all completed by the time it's the
By the time people come to stay?
Yeah, by the time people come to stay.
See, over the last 4 years, Indian market has been doing very good. Because it's doing very good, the entire debt is paid off.
Okay.
Right? 0% of that is remaining.
Right.
Right. Nevertheless, even in, I would say, bad markets, 25 to 30% is what is remaining. If anything over and above that is remaining, it means the project has a real problem with product market fit. Matlab, what you have built is not what people want.
It's not resonating.
It's not resonating.
Correct.
It could be wrong product, wrong location.
Yeah.
So this is how it happens. So most of the projects, at least I would say the last 10% will be remaining. That's it.
And what percentage typically do you guys work on in pre-cash, pre-sales?
Pre-sale?
Yeah.
See, in pre-sale now, over the last 1 year, our brand has picked up. So now we sell close to 40% of our inventory in pre-sale. Before the project is launched, we are sold out 40%.
Yeah.
Last year and this year projects. Before that, we used to do around 20-25%. So as your brand value goes up, right, and your product market fit is right, the pre-sales is typically 50% that you can go up to.
Right.
Sometimes even more.
And how long does it take to reach 100% completion typically? Are you ever at 100% or not really?
100% not really, because a certain portion of your inventory, at least in Hyderabad, and in various other cities also, city to city there is a law change, but certain portion of your inventory you're not supposed to sell.
Okay.
In the case of Hyderabad, it's 10% of the inventory I can't sell. I can only sell after getting occupancy certificate.
Okay.
That is done so that I comply to all the norms.
Right.
Right. Of course, in different cities, it's differently structured. So in that perspective, I can in Hyderabad I can only sell 90%. Probably in Bombay, it's a different percentage.
Right.
But typically, I would say 10 to 15% of the units do get remained, which we'll sell after getting occupancy.
What does that mean?
See, it means two things. One, let's say as a developer, I really want to encash more on the price. I want a much better realization. Then I need to sell more ready to move in property, right? So I'll hold the inventory back and sell it after I get the occupancy certificate. So on the day when the buyer is coming, they are buying a completed product. So they're going to pay more. Or in other cases, maybe my inventory planning is not so great. There are 10-15% of the units which are not really desired. Maybe the ventilation is low, or maybe again the product market fit is wrong. So these sort of things are also happen. So it's sort of it lies anywhere in between these two. The more mature a developer is, then you're more better with your product market fit.
Right. And what do you think people look for? Do they like a fully furnished apartment, or is it something that they want to have the custom choice to make, right?
Interesting question. I think they want a piece of both. They want a fully furnished apartment as per their choices, which is what makes it difficult for a developer. That's why we don't go to the last mile delivery.
Right.
So we give you a ready to move in home, but not a fully furnished home.
So what would a typical unit have at ASBL?
It will have like your entire thing, like your flooring, your everything apart from furnishings. Okay. Right. So all the electrical stuff, all the plumbing stuff, all your wall paints, everything. But except the furnishings. So we don't give you furniture, we don't give you wardrobes, and we don't give you soft furnishings like your curtains and all. Apart from this, rest all we give. In fact, the entire market is sort of used to that.
Pretty much operational on that.
But in the luxury segment, even these things are being are being provided by the developer. That is where Armani's and all come in.
Yeah.
They bring in this aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
And people typically prefer this, that at least the basic, like the skeleton is delivered, and then they can add their furniture and things like that.
They actually, a lot of our customers ask us that why don't you do all the interiors and give it to us? But the problem in that is such a customized thing that it ends up being a thankless job. In my first project, actually, we did that.
Yeah.
So I remember one lady who came and she wanted a sort of a puncher in the wall in the drawing room, so that like the space can become more interactive with the kitchen. Right, and then we punctured the wall and we built. Then she told, no, itna, I want 1 feet more down. So then we can't do that. it became a thankless job.
Yeah.
And so
generic.
we just stopped doing it.
Yeah, like you're.
Now we don't do it at all.
Like I designed this house that I just moved into, and it was, I love doing it, but I can imagine like my landlord going crazy for everything. I was like, hey, do this or do that, right? Like when you're doing it on your own, you can make tweaks as and when you feel
and
like.
like I'm building my own house now. It's been 3 years that we are stuck in the interior phase because you never reach consensus.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get into that aspect.
Yeah, that's like
we want to stay a step away from that.
Okay, we'll move to the next section. So, there are so many myths around real estate, like you said, and a lot of it comes from people just assuming things, right, about how it's been or how it's evolved. So I'll ask you a few statements that people believe, and then you can tell me what's your opinion on it. Okay, black money is rampant in real estate.
It's reducing much faster, right? So it's at least in the segment where 80% of the real estate, the black money is drastically reduced. For a working professional, wherever working professionals are buying housing, their black money is gone. Black money is still there when you're selling to HNI customers, like self-employed, like doctors, businessmen, CAs. In this customer category products, black money is much more rampant. But when you're selling to an IT professional, and in these cases, black money is negligible.
But how does it work for like a developer, right? Like, do you accept cash, or do you have some kind of rule that I'm not going to take cash, I only do it?
Maybe, see, at least at ASBL, we do not accept cash. But I mean, on the face of it, at least we have to say that.
Yeah.
But then,
I picked that up. Okay.
But then do whatever is necessary sometimes.
Real estate prices in India are matching first world levels despite poor infrastructure.
That's true. Why? Because the percentage of population in who really want a good quality home is very high in India. So to put in perspective, the top 1% of the economy, that is what, like 14 million people, earn 53 lakhs per annum. So the affordability is also high, right?
Yeah.
So the demand for better lifestyle is much high. That is the reason the property prices are hitting through the roof. And the amount of supply in such locations is still relatively low, right? Because of land loss and various things, right? With various levels of policies and all of that. That's why prices are low. I hope, prices become more rationalized, or even the quality of living can go up. Like I'm a big believer of walkability and all. Instead of building bigger and bigger roads, because see, one thing I've realized with the traffic problem is the more you solve, the worse you'll be. So certain problems, it's better you don't solve anything. So imagine instead of making bigger and bigger, because the bigger you make a road, the more the cars you invite.
Yeah.
Imagine you knock off a sort of a lane in a road and make it into a walkable path. Then people will actually use cars a lot less, and only when you're like traveling across suburbs, for that there's public transport. So such sort of policies can come up. I'm a big believer of that. At one point it'll happen.
Okay. Warren Buffett's $107 million loss means real estate is no longer a safe bet.
That is for Warren Buffett, not for individuals. I'll tell you the case of
That's a rounding off error for him. He's just like another day in the office. Yeah.
I think they have some $100 billion, $135 billion or some, if I'm not wrong, $300 billion of cash. So it really doesn't matter. But let me explain that thing. See, in the US, what's happening is US doesn't have population growth in cities.
Yeah.
Unlike in India, we are seeing enormous population growth in the city, right? US, that's not happening. But a lot of this private equity money and this large scale money, which is buying over homes at scale and like selling it at an individual scale. So at the maker, see what happens, how do you artificially increase prices? By controlling the demand.
Correct.
Right? Today, if you look at something like India, right? In India, we sell close to around around 8 lakh crores of real estate a year, houses a year, in which 4 lakhs to 4.5 lakhs is sold by developers. Another 4 lakhs are sold by people, like one homeowner selling to new homeowner, right? So you see how many owners are there? Maybe millions. What if this entire demand is consolidated with just 500 developers? Then you see the prices will go up much higher. So Warren Buffett wanted to buy a lot of homes and sell it individually. Because of increase in interest rates in America that people cannot really afford. Then what's happening? That's why he had to sell it at lower cost.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a game changer are government connections when it comes to securing prime land for projects?
9.
Okay. I thought you would say 10.
It's slowly becoming clean. I'll tell you that also let me explain. Nowadays, what's happening is a good number of lands, prime real estate lands, are coming for developers through the NCLT route. So let's say there's some big corporate which has gone bankrupt, their assets have gone to NCLT, and now the banks are taking and auctioning them. So via the NCLT auctioning route, good amount of prime lands are coming. Several such land parcels have come up in Bombay also, the prime areas. That's why it's 9. Probably 5-6 years back, before the IBC banking resolution, whatever this thing has been there, then it would be 10.
Okay.
Hopefully it will come down.
Okay.
Another thing also I would like to point in this direction, over the next 5-7 years, I think the government of India under the chairman of Niti Aayog, Mr. Arvind Panagria, have set up a committee for government has various such lands in cities, right, which are not optimized to the best of the cases. They also want to monetize these assets and reduce their debt, at the same time free up more land in the cities. That will bring that 9 to probably 7 in some time.
Let's hope.
I see a future it happens, so it's 2 or 3.
Okay. The real estate market is on the verge of a crash in India.
Not really, not at all. If you're looking at it from a 1-year perspective, then it might be. From a 3 and 5 year perspective, no. Right? 1-year perspective, it's a speculative game. The sort of money which people made from probably 2021 to 2023 has been property prices changing every day. Right, you go and talk, with the developer a particular price. Tomorrow they are telling it's sold or the price has gone up. Same thing, like properties have also traded like, I keep saying, like NFTs, right? Prices are changing by the hour. That was essentially attributed to easy liquidity, right? Nothing got to do with real demand and supply. But from a real demand supply perspective, no. Property from a 1-year perspective, yes, speculative it might be, but from a 3 and 7 year perspective, no. We are on a very rock solid footing.
Okay, so our next section is called business of storytelling, right? So just like actual stories or actual challenges that have shaped the trajectory of ASBL or the industry in general. So have you ever faced a moment where the project was stuck or it was just not moving, and how did you maneuver that challenge?
I would say not at least that problem we have not seen.
Oh, you've not seen it.
We have not seen. We are a relatively young company. We are only 7 years into our operations. But definitely I've seen a couple of times in my life where we were bidding for a couple of lands which were way beyond our means, way beyond what we could, the financial resources, what we could secure. And those were super stressful periods. But luckily we somehow ended up getting all that required money. So those would be my really tough challenges. There are some lands where we hardly had any money running into the bidding, but we won the bid and then we had to go and real time procure all that money. So that sort of challenges we have seen. And nevertheless also, market is cyclical. So currently we are going in Hyderabad, at least we are going through a slower phase of the market. So maneuvering, convincing your customers that still there is growth in the market and seeing through operations at this point of time is reasonably difficult. But hopefully we are doing it to decent standards.
Okay. What has been a make or break decision for you when it came to ASBL, right? Like it was just a very critical decision. For example, you ended up selling 500 crores worth of inventory on day one of launching your project. What was the behind the scenes of that day? Like, you're launching, you're opening, and then you sell out that many units.
I think when it happens for the first time, we also didn't believe it would happen. But at least in that project, I personally put in a lot of time on the product design. So I did read a lot of news and experts talk on the importance of product market fit. But that was the first time I saw it. So that was really, really good. But because having a right flow plan or right product, how much of sales does it really impact? I thought maybe 5%, but not to such an extent. So that was something which was very new to me. And at the same time, even provided far more validation to our approach of selling, like how we are digital first and we have zero
Hoardings.
Out of home marketing expense. So again, this is something which is, not the conventional market wisdom, right? So for every direction, one step in that direction, there are 10 people saying, no, that's a wrong direction.
Correct.
So validation to that also came. So now, we are much more confident going into it. And I believe we'll do far bigger launches in the time to come by.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because you speak about out of digital marketing,
out of home marketing.
people still associate something as massive as IPL with DLF because the initial time it was DLF IPL. And that brand recall is just something that's stuck, right? Even like whatever, 15, 17 years on. How does a real estate brand build that kind of brand recall?
See, first and foremost now in this sector, it's very, very important your deliveries, right? Something like DLF, which has been in this business for last, 50 years, they have delivered close to 100,000 homes, right? So that itself has an enormously strong brand recall. See, real estate is the product inside which a consumer lives, right? A phone and all of this we carry, they're all products, right? Phone, TVs, maybe Google we use as products and services. But real estate is a product inside which a consumer stays. So anybody who comes to your home, right, is naturally touched by our product. If the product is good, then naturally there's a lot of validation layer, this sort of referral layer which keeps happening. So DLF ka biggest recall, okay, maybe the IPL is something which people would have seen on the forefront, but DLF already by that day would have delivered close to 50,000 homes. Imagine, let's say somebody like a newbie like me went and put that ad that day, it won't add much steam.
Yeah, because you're already building on a brand.
You're already building on an existing set of validation, right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the market in Hyderabad, right? It's the cost of a home in Hyderabad is significantly lower than the cost of homes in Bombay or Delhi, but still it has like top infrastructure. So do you think that that's a factor for pulling in more money into the city through the real estate sector?
Absolutely. See, Hyderabad, amongst all the metros, is the best place to live in for people anywhere across the country. Let me share some statistics, right?
Are you biased?
I might be. My business is there. I might be, but they're facts also. That's why I want to tell the facts, right? So, so let me at least, so Hyderabad in a year, right? We are generating close to 1 lakh tech jobs.
Wow,
so tech jobs are on top of the pyramid. So one tech job is going to have a significant spillover. That is, they're going to consume more, so more services and other jobs will keep coming up. And second thing, Hyderabad has a much better position when it comes to potable water. One very, very important aspect of modern city life is potable water, water for drinking and bathing domestic purposes, right? Hyderabad, let's take for example Bangalore, right? One sign of a city being urbanized is getting piped water, not borewell water. If you're still pulling water out of the borewell, it means your city is still not yet modernized.
Correct.
Right now, from a statistics standpoint, Hyderabad ka water supply through the piping system is 2,600 million liters per day. Bangalore is 1,400, exactly half of us.
That's crazy.
Right? The area, and Bangalore also with that 1,400 MLD, they are serving 13 million people. Hyderabad is serving 13 million ko 2,600 MLD. So the per capita consumption of water is also more, which leads to better quality of life. The piping ka network coverage is also close to 575 square kilometers for Bangalore. Hyderabad, it's 1,200 square kilometers. So water condition, we fair and square beat all the major metros. This is the data which is available online. Right now, let me talk cost of living. Cost of living is, so for my 100 rupees, where can I get the maximum amount of products and services? As simple as that. In Hyderabad, right, let's say somebody eating out, a family, like a couple eats out at a restaurant, a decent restaurant, it costs 1,200 rupees versus 2,000 rupees in Bangalore and 2,500 in Gurgaon and Mumbai, right? Next is your child education, primary education. A decent international, international IB curriculum wala school ka fees in Hyderabad is around 1.5 lakh. In Bangalore, it's around 2.25, Bombay around 2 lakhs, and Gurgaon, it's again around 2.25 lakhs. Next, rent. For a 3-bedroom house, Hyderabad in reasonably closer to city center areas. Hyderabad is at 55,000.
For 3-bedroom?
For 3-bedroom. Bombay, I think 1.5 lakh.
So it's way more.
And Bangalore and Gurgaon around the 1 lakh. So cost of living is the best. And even urban mobility. Urban mobility also, Hyderabad is much, much better than Bangalore and these cities. Probably Delhi beats us because of metro and these sort of things. Bombay with the new upgrades, what they're doing along the coastal thing, right? That also is really improving urban mobility. Of course, But urban mobility also, we are much, much better. So I would recommend everybody, please come you can just tour Hyderabad and then decide for yourself. And another very important thing of urban and city living is the ability of women to participate in labor workforce, to work, essentially. 64% of all the CCTV cameras in the entire country, right? 64% of the cameras in the entire country are only in Hyderabad city.
Yeah, I have a stat here, 900,000 plus CCTV cameras.
Second highest is Delhi at, I think, some 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs. That's it.
What?
That's how much surveillance the city is under.
Yeah.
And on any average day, if you're commuting for your day-to-day work, you will be picked up by the cameras almost 40 times. That's 7th or 8th highest in the world. London is first at some 318 or something, but Hyderabad is 7th highest in the world, naturally first in the country. So because of this, what's happening, the security which we're able to offer to women is much, much high.
Of course.
Now the advantage with that is many women are able to go to work.
Yeah.
Now when a woman goes to work, then it becomes a double income household. If it's a double income household, more earnings, so better is the quality of living. So that's very, very important aspect.
Wow.
So these are, I would say, some of the key pitch.
No, you had me at 55,000 rent. The previous and the post was really unrequired. Okay.
I think for Mumbaikars, then I'll change my pitch to that.
Yeah,
The
it should
rent.
just be rent. Like everybody who's living in Bombay, I think the biggest factor is like, why have so much rent?
I think housing is not really in
Housing,
grade. I mean, the
commercial-
houses are really small here, right? Comparatively.
Yes, we are acutely aware. Or like office, commercial real estate, any kind of like just rent in Bombay is just like exorbitant.
expensive.
It's so expensive. And you know, like you said, like they're not the biggest houses. So like what are you going to do?
I see like people staying in Hyderabad, like a typical 3-bedroom, we have like 1,800 square feet, 1,500 square feet carpet, 15 to 1,800 square feet. Here, I think 15 to 1,800, there might be somebody who's like, that house might be like 20 crores or 30 crores or something.
I have no idea, but like we've not even ventured there, right? Like, so like it is what it is. So the next section is called Lessons from the Ground. We'll just talk about, certain things that, certain incidents that have happened in the real estate world that have left a mark, right? So let's take the case of Shah Arshad Ahmed. He booked a flat at Logic's Blossom Zest in Noida in 2016. After surrendering the flat, the builder promised a refund with interest. But even after the project was declared insolvent in 2022, Ahmed and 1,700 other home buyers are still waiting. So what are the key warning signs a first-time buyer should look out when purchasing a home?
See, one very, very important thing is making sure the developer has the expertise and wherewithal to build that project. Now, the question is, where will I get this data? Todi na ki anybody will tell I can't build this, right?
Yeah.
So the best way to look at that is you go to a developer's website, look at the all the developers will mention their past projects.
Yeah.
If there's no past project, then it's a newbie, right? Then increase the risk.
Yeah.
So look at the past project, and if the current project in which you are buying, let's say past projects are all showing that it's a 5 floor, 7 floor, 8 floor, and the one you're buying is like 40 floor. So it means the developer does not have the wherewithal, expertise, at least, because see, there is, unless you go through the cycles couple of times, you're not going to get the total life cycle understanding. Let's say I built a tall structure which is 35 floors and the new project is 45 floors. Fine. 80% of it I understand.
Yeah.
But it's not like I can build 5 floors and suddenly I've scaled and I'm doing like, until now I was doing like 100,000 square feet project and now I'm doing like a 1.5 million square feet project. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So look at this, and all this data is available in the website. So that way they can protect themselves. Next, you mentioned subvention scheme, right? See, interest rate subvention is a sort of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Naturally, most of the developers who have tried this, see what happens in this scheme. When you buy a property, right, and during the under construction process, the developer keeps, giving you invoices. Let's say they build a 10th slab and they ask you to pay 10%, and the bank will disperse that money and you'll be paying monthly interest for that, right? So interest which you'll be paying to the banker before getting the possession.
Yeah.
That interest is being reimbursed by the developer in this case. Now, in these sort of projects, let's say the project is supposed to be for 3 years. The developer has provision that, okay, my interest expense is going to be like 500 rupees per SFT or something like that. Let's say the project has gone for 6 years. Then your interest expenses doesn't double. It goes up 3x.
Yeah.
And that makes it unviable. When it becomes unviable, then the developer stops paying. And ultimately, the burden falls on the customer. And then it goes into a different tangent. So a similar story had occurred there. So it's very, very important for developers also to really understand the subvention scheme. Because see, naturally, when you give such sort of interest rebate to the customers, you get sales much more easily.
Absolutely.
Right? But you don't know how to plan to optimally use this cash flows, right, while building, you're going to end up landing into a crazy soup. And I think that's what has happened there.
Okay. On the other side, right, in India, tenants refusing to leave a property isn't unheard of. So what do landlords do in this case?
See, in India, unfortunately, the tenancy laws are usually in support of the tenant and not the landlord. Some of the landlords don't even lease out their properties because of this threat. But hopefully, it's again each to their own sort of thing. I would recommend doing a thorough due diligence before even giving the lease. Right, making sure you take you verify the earning, the whatever the earning income aspect of the person who's leasing out your flat, making sure he has the income to support his lease, right? Second thing, doing a basic background check. I think now these days there are third-party companies who are providing such service. They might charge you a month rent or something. I would recommend they strongly do that and then lease it, and making sure you have a good standardized agreement framework, right? Wherein which you can like hold them to some level of accountability at least.
Has it ever happened to you?
No, I don't. In case at least my property, I don't lease.
No.
So I'm not exposed to that aspect.
Also, it's common to see people put up a fence, right, on the land and say it belongs to me.
Oh yeah, land we do.
Yeah, okay.
At least at apartments we don't lease.
Okay,
but lands,
so
land's not even fence. We build pakka RCC, like cement concrete walls we build.
Really?
If not, your land is gone.
Yeah.
Your land is gone.
Wow. Oh my God.
So not even like, even if you put fence now, sometimes what we've been seeing is people, fences can be tampered. You can just break them and encroach. So that's why we build like an RCC wall, so it can't be broken that easily. We do that.
Has it ever happened that somebody's put up a fence and said, okay, now this land is mine?
Not with us, but such things happen with us before we buy the land. Then we settle those parties and then we sort of...
So you have to settle
Yeah, we have to settle.
Oh
in
my
fact,
God.
we ourselves as a family also, in one of our personal holdings, we have lost 2.5 acres of land like that.
What?
Out of like 70 acres. So you're like, okay, it's fine. No, we don't want to go and fight it. It's a long battle.
Yeah, it's a long battle.
It's a generational fight. So if my dad starts it, I have to end it. If I start it, my kid has to end it. So there's no way we're going to win that.
Okay, amazing. It's been so insightful. I'm down to the last question. If somebody wants to become a newbie real estate developer, right? What advice would you give them?
See, I think it's very, very important that you are dealing with a consumer life's most important product.
Yeah.
So have that element of sensitivity to it, and that will give you good amount of return. See, even to put in perspective, right? Like a consumer life's most important service is what? Marriage. As per contractual services, that's how it is. Marriage is a service.
Yeah.
That product is what? A house.
Yeah.
So you're right up there. So it's very, very important. So I would say deal it with that level of sensitivity. And I think, and builder business is like a long innings game.
Yeah.
Right. So at least give yourself 10 years before you make a good amount of money for yourself. Don't look at it from a 1 year or 2 year perspective. You need to give it a 10-year perspective. In 10 years, you will make good amount of money also for yourself individually. So yeah, it's a good business to be.
Okay, amazing. Right. It was such a good chat. I really enjoyed. I learned a lot, and I hope I didn't put you on the spot.
Oh no, not at all. I would recommend you come to now that you know the rents in Hyderabad. Maybe you can move your business to Hyderabad. You've got some really
Humans
good commercial spaces.
It'll be Humans of Hyderabad. It has a good ring to it also.
It would be a pleasure to have you from our city.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you so much.